So,
Where are you looking? Where are you looking?
I'm looking at the audience. It's this thing is coming to you live. Yeah, and then there's some audience here. What about you? How are you doing, Elad?
I'm great. I'm great. It's fun. It's fun to be back. Last time was I was at Burning Man, kind of stuck in the mud while Wingley was here airing. Actually, just the day after I was stuck in the mud.
Yeah, I think you were in an airport.
I was at a hotel in San Francisco, and
nice.
I listened to Wingley. I watched Wingley. It was really fun. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Kind of feel like there's only 2 items today, and we were talking about
beating
this.
you're beating yourself up for it.
I think it's. I think we're tasked in making the best of them. That's what I'm saying right now, Elad. So that's.
I know.
So who is the Dave? It's Bitsky.
One of my favorite people, actually, just this guy I accidentally met when I was working at AWS, and he started the AWS developer podcast, and I got to know this amazing person, really, that has amazing passion for sharing stories, and it's always fun to speak to, and it was a super pleasure to have him over. And so yeah, I'd love for you to meet him. I think that you'd be interested in his story.
Awesome. So without further ado, let's invite Dave to the Winglang show.
Hello, and let me wipe those tears away. Thank you.
Don't wipe them. This is exactly the kind of material we're looking for.
Yeah. I am. I'm truly humbled to be here. I love everything that you're all doing, and any chance to just hang out and having a show like this is just awesome. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, man.
Yeah. So what would you like to know?
Tell us a little bit about your story. Like when did you start programming? When you got interested in?
Yeah. I should show you all, because you normally don't see this on any of my podcasts. But if I go like this, those are all Commodore computers over there.
Okay.
So it's a Amiga 2000 and Amiga 1000, and then off camera is a Commodore 64 128. So I mean, my story. Being a little kid, it was right place, right time. You remember the 80s is like just the atmosphere of computers and the new, and I got that bug, and nobody in my family was that. I came from lower middle class. Everybody worked with their hands, lots of mechanics. My dad was a butcher. And they were like, what do you want? What's a computer? And I was like, we didn't have money for it. So, I started when I was 10, I did a paper route, and it took me, like a year to get enough for a Commodore. And so there was always like, this is mine, like this is my destiny and my And first person in my family to go to college. I only was able to go to college because I got a scholarship. And so it's just been like, tech has always been, to me, it's changed my life, and it's changed the direction of my family. And I still feel like that little kid. I love that nothing's ever stagnant. Everything that we're building here today, in like 5 years, we're going to be like, wow, was that archaic? Like we had no idea what we were doing, and that's exciting for me. I always tell people, if you're the kind of person that you just love the new thing, when I was in high school, they used to say, is Bitsky burnout? Because I get really excited about something, but then the new thing would come, and I want to go work with that.
So I was aiming to ask, and my story with computers is my father bought a computer, and then I got it. Your story is a little bit different. You were looking to buy a new computer. Do you see it was one of your friends, or was it just a shiny new thing?
No, but
you wanted to use. Yeah.
Gosh, I think it was like seeing Tron. And just like all the other like TV shows and stuff. And I, growing up, I was always this, I don't know if you know Myers-Briggs, but I'm an INFJ. So I was always a very like deep thinker. And I also, without getting too personal, Alad knows this, but when I was 10, I was basically written off for debt. I had a severe ketoacidosis, and it was basically I have juvenile diabetes, and I've had it for decades now.
Okay.
And so I always had this view of like, I'm not going to waste my time. Like life is precious, right? So when you have that combined with a thinker, it was like I escaped into that world, into computers and technology, you know, and it was I think it's a way for me to have control and to build. And that's really where programming came. I mean, my first thing was like a choose your own adventure. I was writing to a tape drive on a Commodore, and I knew I wanted to do computers for a living, but back then it was so different. I mean, there was no web. I was learning assembly and Visual Basic, and so I went for computer engineering. And I was like, wow, I don't want to spend my life in a lab. I love talking to people. I love traveling. Like I look at technology as a way to make all of our lives better. And so I switched to computer science, and then I got this interest in economics and just how businesses worked. And there was a degree called information systems. So I actually, a lot of people think I have a CS degree, but I actually have a Bachelor of Arts in information systems. And that, again, it was just right time. I mean, you're talking about the internet was rising through all of this. And I was the webmaster, building my own websites, doing e-commerce. And so when I actually got a degree, so this is, and this is when I met my wife. So this is 97. I was going around and building websites and working as a Microsoft solutions provider. Okay. Right. And it's just learning and seeing all these different companies and seeing how cultures work and different management styles. And when the .com bust came and I was about to become a dad, I was like, I need something stable. And so I wound up doing the whole 9-to-5 IT career. I worked for a large pharmaceutical company in New Jersey. And, was leading a software group, and we were building, enterprise software, and it was like on Windows machines, and we were deploying SMS packages and doing all of that. And I remember one day I'm like, I can't spend my life. I mean, bless them. There's still people I know who are there. To them,
they're not watching. Some of our best friends.
Yeah, but I had this, right. I'm like, I'm not kind of person. I can't go to the same place every day, sit in the same cube, working on, Did you hear
what I was saying? He said, don't worry, they're not watching.
Yeah, they might be. They're still into unit tech stuff. But I just, I felt it inside of me. I tell people this too, is like, if you're not standing in your purpose will move you. Like and that came across like I was sad. I was like, I got this good paying job. It's stable. And every day I would go to work and feel sad. And I'm like, it's because I want to learn and do cooler stuff. And I went to Microsoft.com/jobs, believe it or not. Ooh, and really? They got back to me. Yeah. And it was for something called Developer Evangelist. So this is like 2005. Is at the very early DevRel stage. It was just developer experience before that. I think Charlie Kindle had done some things at Microsoft, like out of the Windows Group early days. And there was Channel 9, the whole MSDN stuff was just starting. And I was like, I love this. I love talking about writing software. I love new technology, and I love helping people. And so when I went in, it was actually one of the people from the Microsoft Consulting Services that I had brought in as a consultant on one of the software projects was the hiring manager. So you never know, people. And, it wasn't like any shortcuts. I still did 8 hours of interviews. And in fact, in the middle of the interview, they're like, oh, wow, Dave has all this health and life sciences experience. Let's have him interview for another developer evangelist role. So then I had to go through another 8 hours, and it wound up being vertical. Back then in early DevRel days, it hadn't really entered the startup world. It was very enterprise focused, and it was mostly you saw it at big companies. So there was, people I knew that were doing it over at IBM, people doing it at Microsoft. And basically the idea was if you could take industry experience, you'd understand how to develop solutions better, right? Which is you see it now, but Microsoft had both FinServ, so financial services, and health and life sciences. So I wound up going back to the company that I came from and teaching them about .NET and, helping get all that. I was a .NET beta. So it was 1.0 beta. So I was moving like Visual Basic 5 over to .NET.
I was a user.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so much fun because you're literally seeing the tools getting built and the MSDN discs, again, not everything online. So you would get
Yeah, no,
discs.
of course, of course. I remember the packages. It's kind of like Christmas every month.
Oh,
It's
I was
like,
so
oh,
excited. Yeah. And then I had my book, my Win32 API. So I could do comm calls out through that. And, so I got to watch that whole space evolve. I
are you
worked with
familiar with the MSDN subscription?
No.
No.
Microsoft
Would you-
Developer Network. Think of it as like a search engine and Stack Overflow for that day, because none of that exists. And I remember Joel
Yeah,
on software when they first started Stack Overflow and like
me
how,
too. Me too.
yeah,
You're talking about the
No,
search.
no, but the MSDN
business?
subscription
No,
was like
sorry,
a
yeah.
like a
That's
subscript like a
yeah. It was
paid
expensive too.
service
It
that
wasn't
you
like
pay. Yeah, it was pretty
like
expensive.
work paid for it. Yeah.
A company would pay,
and then you get a
a
discount,
yearly,
and
and then
after,
every month or something, you would get a
Yeah.
package
yeah, exactly.
of like 100 discs of like all Microsoft software, all versions, all
Yeah.
betas, all.
Oh, it was
I
great.
remember
You could
that.
I
get
don't know.
early access to
I'm not
products.
familiar with it. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Sounds
But you
crazy.
have to realize there was no GitHub. So
Yeah.
the source code is anything that you had written. And I used to like burn a CD of every piece of software I ever wrote that I could have with me to draw from. Right. And then a lot of these companies, these large enterprises, there was something called Visual Source Safe. So this is
course.
before even Team Foundation Server. So it was just an early kind of way to have source control. Yeah. And so it was like maybe you got some code from some other group in your company somewhere, but you were on your own. You were out there lone wolf. So having this documentation, and there was more samples and all of that, it was, it just made your life so much easier. And so I did that for a while.
It's pretty interesting to think about when we're shipping software today. We're basically shipping the same form factor, just only digital. Like in terms of like the type of documentation, the tutorials, the SDK references, like all of that stuff is the same. Like it didn't even really change. And so definitely Microsoft has been a leader, an absolute leader in developer tools and developer documentation. And
I used to
by
have
the
to
way,
do
I was interviewed at Channel 9. I don't know if
Oh, were you really? I had a show on Channel 9. It's called Developers for Developers, Devs for Devs. So we might have, maybe
you've interviewed me before in past life.
Yeah. Wow. And anyway, I hung out there for a while, did lots of cool stuff. It was amazing. That's how I learned community. So they're like, hey, do you want to go to a user group? I was like, what's a user group? What's a code? Like I had no idea, and just seeing that the people helping people and people growing together, I fell in love with that part of it. And that's really when Amazon came to hire me in 2013, it was to help launch the App Store, which was just on Android devices back then. We didn't even have the Fire tablets. So I had a career of launching products and developer services and a love of community. And so helping to build community around that and connecting service teams and making sure marketing and service teams aren't fighting. And we've all, we're all there to help each other. And so I got just this crazy ride of helping launch that. And then the Fire, the Kindle, the tablets, and then Fire TV. And then I helped launch Fire Phone. And then I was employee 1 for Alexa. So I went from like me to 2,000 people in a year. And I did a chief evangelist role for that for 6 years and loved every minute of it. And again, that is Bitsky burnout. I was like, I need to do something different. People have basically gotten NLU figured out, and I'm like, there's a bunch of stuff going on. Amazon's a big company. And that's how I came to meet Alad was in developer tools. They were looking for a way to connect directly with community. And I'm like, this is great. Like, I love cloud. I had been doing a bunch with Lambda on the Alexa skills side. And I was like, I want to start over again. I want to do something new. And believe it or not, last week, that was 3 years. And it's 10 years at Amazon this month. So, and in a whirlwind, that's my career going through. But and I love it. I love everything going on now.
Yeah, I think you're definitely in. This is, like this. Yeah, I think we both share a lot of that kind of passion to software and computers and growing up with computers. I think all of us are roughly the same age, and I think it really resonates with me. Like everything that you said is like I can totally. I've been there, totally been there. So,
yeah, and there's what really excites me now, because I get asked a lot about starting a career in tech, and my oldest, she's going into her second year of college, and just thinking in terms of that. I don't know about you all, but I've never felt as empowered now as a developer, as a creator, right? It's like between the cloud and now with generative AI, the ability to create things as a one person or just a couple people, it's even bigger than it was in the .com side. And I think we're going to see this explosion of ideas and productivity. I tell people today, I'm like, you're now as a developer, you're a manager of developers. Your IC is all of your generative AI, right? And then you have the ability to scale out. I love messing around with creative tools. So like I'm always in Adobe Creative Cloud, right? And I've been messing around with the generative AI and Photoshop and things like that. But they've got this tool Firefly now. Like I basically have my own marketing team that I could create a video channel. It'll put it in the right format. I mean, we were talking about this off camera, but like what it used to take to create something like this, imagine doing a live broadcast and all, right? You could do it all yourself. It's so exciting, And so that's what I tell people. I'm like, you could work at a company for a couple of years, see what it's like, but don't give up on your dream and yourself. Like the tools are there now. We are empowered to build stuff, and you're all doing that. So
yeah, and I think we've been
better than me.
Empowering ourselves. That's what I mostly like about creating tools for developers is about that, right? Like it's about enabling new paradigms, new use cases, giving developers more freedom, more independence, and the ability of bigger things.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else? What else do you want to know? Tell us. Sorry, go ahead.
So, kind of from looking at Amazon, we have there's Kubernetes and serverless. How do you see those two things in today's kind of?
I heard the serverless part. What was the other?
Kubernetes.
Oh, Kates and everything. Yeah, I mean, it's like what Alad is talking about. I mean, it's not going to solve every problem, but it's just, and we have stuff like Fargate and we have other services. And one of the areas where I am in now is I'm actually in developer experience. So I'm in the product org.
Interesting.
And so it's what I find, obviously I can't, talk about anything that's coming, although reInvent is going to be happening again this year, but it's a lot of what's been talked about is because I always look at serverless as developer productivity, right? And cost of ownership. Yeah. And not having to own every little piece of that infrastructure, and I think a lot of the discussions, if I had to put it in generalized terms, is low code, no code, productivity. How does that all fit? And you'll see things like Bedrock and everything with these foundation models. You're seeing a managed service in AWS to make what before you actually had to go ahead and build these models. I mean, some of them you could do on your laptop, right? But you want to do it, especially if it has your company's data. You want to put it in a secure manner, and you want the ability to scale up. And so, to me, it's not like there's no servers, it's somebody else's servers, but it's the empowering. It's the ability to just scale up with these things. So I love Kubernetes. I love anything that can just ship my box, and that has, problems in and of itself too. But I think it's all about developer productivity there. And imagine, I'm not saying anything here. I'm just painting a little picture, but imagine these tools being used by AI itself.
Yeah.
Why do I even, as a developer, even have to worry about serverless and Kubernetes? Why can't the AI figure out what it needs in that and start doing that on my behalf too? And we're going to start heading into that, because once you have things that can scale out and they're manageable, right? Then you have the ability to start sprinkling AI in here to do things on my behalf. And we've got this tool, Code Whisperer, where I can, in natural language, this is how I taught myself Rust. is I was like, I just created choose your own adventure game, right? And you could see behind all the Dungeons and Dragons, right? And so I'm like, and do ANSI graphics. I don't know if you remember ANSI graphics from like BBS days.
ANSI graphics, like
VT100 terminals.
Yeah, like terminal graphics.
Yeah. So on the keyboard, it's using specific escape control sequences to generate. It's basically putting together like bitmap graphics.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, generate a dragon and do it. And so it did. And then I'm like, okay, I want this to be in a file. So I'm thinking in terms of like pseudocode. Okay. And then I would see the file IO inside of Rust. And then I'm like, okay, now I want this in an S3 bucket. Right. It'll do that for you. And, you know, you're moving, you can tab through different code snippets. And so that's super empowering too, is just moving through prototype. But you all know, like what you're doing with Winglang it's so powerful with that too. You know, just that productivity of pulling things together. But that's where I see, it's just a Dave thing, but this is where I see that coming through, is the AI is seeping into those pieces that I still have to do. Because even if you think about serverless, I still have to understand the AWS console. Yeah. But I think there's going to be people building stuff that have no idea the AWS console looks like. It's happening on their behalf, you know? Yeah. And I think that's,
I have a personal observation. I mean, kind of a retrospective observation. The minute you say low code, no code,
you got like
something with me. The developer in me, the guy who likes to code, who finds the passion in this, kind of gets shut down. It's great. I don't know. It's
true.
Is it something are you guys feeling the same? I feel like Dave, you're not feeling it.
Well, no, I'm not. There's no judgment here.
He's feeling
Tell me about your mother. Tell me about your childhood. So it's like, where's that coming from? Like, to me, when I hear that, it means I don't have to write the code to go do the file IO. I don't look at it as it's going to take away my ability to write the code that I want.
Yeah. And let me add another observation. Another observation on the same kind of line. And I think we've been seeing this, actually. We've been talking to tons of people in the industry, and we've been like, I think definitely the approach we have with Wing is aligned with what you were saying, right? Like, I basically want to define my infrastructure. I want to work at a higher level. It doesn't really matter if I'm running on serverless, if I'm running on containers. And something that I've seen, and actually pointed out by someone else as well, is that, first of all, you can't find companies that don't use Kubernetes. Yeah. I mean, it's an important, like, at least for us as a startup, it's something important to understand, right? Like, AWS may have the ability to ignore that fact, but it's literally everywhere. And when you talk to the folks that are using Kubernetes, there is a sense of the decision to use Kubernetes is not rational. Is not really based on merit. It's not based on the capabilities of Kubernetes that they actually need from Kubernetes.
Right.
And at least
I'm going to do like this.
Okay. Or maybe is it more of a developer as a developer moving up through the org too? I think we've seen waves like that where developers are the ones that brought in the tech.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's like, I'm going to absolutely use this, you know, and then, because that's the way it was during the internet boom.
It's harder and harder, I think. In cloud, when there is a platform team, when there's a platform organization, they have a lot of responsibility on, like, the getting the application to get to the cloud, getting the application to get to production. Yeah, and they definitely have a lot of say in whether they're using Kubernetes or not, for example. That's a weird decision. Like, I think we're at the point, there's kind of like this point where people make this decision because that's what everybody's doing, right? Like, and that's a dangerous architectural constraint, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I see the comments coming in too. I love it, and I agree. We need to rename it, like low code, no code. Let's make it like I don't know.
High code. High code.
It's got to be something empowering as a developer and highlighting. So it's got to be like
if statement, right? It's the if statement is eventually it's a level of abstraction. I mean, it's a branch something.
Why don't we just call it fun code?
So I mean,
that's basically what it's doing for me.
Lay a statement inside my code.
Meta code.
It's a
meta code could be. because you're not really writing code. You're basically describing something at the meta level, and the AI is. But I think that there's a point. The common pattern in what Eyal said and what I said about Kubernetes and what Eyal said about programming and coding is that there is also a craftsmanship aspect.
Of course.
And I think Kubernetes people they basically became like Kubernetes craftsmen, and they have a lot of pride in like their craft, which I super appreciate, by the way. Yeah. And I think developers are the same. Developers are also craftsmen, right? And when you tell them you're not gonna write code anymore, like the code is their craft, right? Like that's how they express their art, their creation, right? Yeah. And I think that's the disconnect. Like there's a disconnect here between like our desire to go to higher level abstractions,
right,
and the crafts that are involved in like helping us do that today.
Yeah. And plus you do something, you put enough time in and you love it, you learn, and you've been burned enough times.
Yeah.
You learn you need to have a certain level of control. If it's going to just do this thing on your behalf, you're going to be like, hey, like I want to double check that. And exactly what you said. That's part of being a craftsman is looking at that of this is the way that things work.
Yeah. I think finding like I love Copilot. I think like Copilot has been doing an incredible job at like respecting that, right? Like respecting the fact that anyway, I think we're
yeah, it's having another pair of eyes. That's how I look at sometimes I'll be in whether it's Copilot or Code Whisperer, any the tools, I'll be in there and it's just ideas. I'm just arrowing through the different ideas. It's almost like a sketch pad in code. Did you ever do that? Mm-hmm. Like I used to do back when I was coding every day. I mean, now it's, hello world, but I used to do coding warm-ups in the morning just to get so I don't know so it's basically what I would do is every morning, right before even when I check my email, I would code for 15 minutes and it could be anything. I'd be like, I'm just going to write a loop today. And what it does is your neural pathways, for me, it used to set the direction of the rest of the day for me. Rather than going to the email, it would pull me into this like different world. And then when I needed to get back and think creatively, because a lot of coding is still being creative in problem solving, I had lost it. And so it's just that early morning and I would love it. I would look forward to it. I'd have my coffee next to me. Sometimes I would do push and pops and everything in machine language. It didn't matter. It was just a way to like you warm up for exercise. Yeah. And so cool. I use Code Whisperer like that. Now it's almost like a learning tool for me too. It's like, I want to see if I can figure this out. Right. And then it's like, you have the answers there too. Awesome.
So did you learn about Rust's ownership model through Code Whisperer?
I had Tim on. Tim's episode is absolutely worth checking out, McNara. And he has his own company now for Rust. And it's one of the top listened to episodes. And he kind of is the one that got me excited about that. And he went over the whole thing of the history of the language and why people sometimes are turned off by the language because it is a language that does not allow you to get away with things ahead of time. So especially like when you're just starting out, like I was always taught, I'll just give you a quick example so we don't run out of time, but I was always taught anytime you did IO, it had to be in a try-catch block, right? But you could still write a program without that. And Rust isn't going to allow you. It's going to make it's helping you. So it's forcing you to code in a way that there will be less errors. So it's a lot
more discipline.
I don't want to say overbearing.
Discipline.
Yes, I love that word. Yes, and so you're putting in more effort up front, but you're less pain. Observability wise, long term. So.
I actually had an interesting thought about like I don't remember. I saw probably a TikTok or something about game development. And how games, like what's the right way to develop, like to create an engaging game. And they explained that you need to make the player fail. Like it has to be hard. Like they have to fail a few times before they're able to like move on. Like they have to have that. And I feel like Rust is designed exactly like that, right? Like you're
I like
constant, because there's like a lot of reward in like achieving something that you failed, that you've already failed, right? Like you failed a few times. And I feel like that has been my experience with Rust, totally true. And I think like that's why also it's kind of like there's some addictive component there, which is like, you know, you get this reward of like, oh, cool, I managed to match all my lifetime annotations, and they're now working. There's like this dopamine rush that you get.
Yeah, a lot of that anabolic, a lot of the human-based reward systems, dopamine included, without any effort, you won't get the reward.
Exactly.
And you know, and that's what that I think. But it's one of the, not to sound like putting my dad, you know, hat on, but a lot of the problems today with all these quick hit dopamine fixes, and not feeling that joy of overcoming something is just a basic human need to actually have that, you know. So I'll tell my kids, like, you know, if they've been on social media all day, it'll be like, you know, you need to go do something hard now instead of scrolling.
How many kids do you have?
So I have two girls. My oldest is going into her second year of college, and my youngest is just starting second year high school.
Oh my God. You're at the nirvana of parenting at this point.
Yeah, it's so like I miss them, you know, because it's like at this stage, they have their own friends, they're out doing their own things. And so like I'm always trying to give them reasons to come back. So I'll be like, hey, I can, why don't we talk about this? Why don't you come, you know, because I'll see my oldest only, you know, once or twice a week, because she's got a job too, and she's all doing things. So I'm like, oh, come here and I'll explain how this works, and I'll feed you, and I'll do, you know,
I'll feed you.
Yeah.
I'm
But
in the phase that when you said I miss them, the first thing I said, what does he mean? That's the phase.
Yeah, Eyal has 4 kids below 12, right?
Below 8.
Below 8.
Below 8.
There's, you know what? But I'll tell you this: there's nothing there's no price I wouldn't pay to go back in time one day with them at that age.
Yeah.
And so be present. You know, I know it's long days and short years, right? But it's like those kids won't exist anymore except in your memory and in the photo and the videos you have. But my kids molded me into the person that I am today. I mean, they grew my heart by 10x. And,
10x.
And it's funny, you were talking about gaming, right? So I started them all out on Xbox. One of my jobs when I was at Microsoft, I was on the Xbox team. I helped launch the Kinect. And they were always Xbox. And then somewhere without any dad intervention, they became PC gamers. And they're all on Steam like me, and they love keyboard and mouse.
That's why you're so proud of them.
Yeah, I'm like, well, I play it all. You know, I've got the PlayStation and keyboard. But yeah, they're like strict PC gamers. They're like, why? I don't want that on Xbox, Dad. I'm buying that on Steam. And they love all the mods. They like to mod all their games and everything. So
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, that's genetic, I guess.
Yeah. Good job.
Yeah.
Ella, do you have any kind of last question? Dave, do you have a question for us? I mean, I know you've done your share of interviews.
Yeah. No, a lot was just on the AWS Developer Podcast. So, you know, definitely for folks, if they haven't seen that yet, definitely listen, because you are amazing, and how you explained it and everything that you're all doing for developers, I think is important. And you know, it was even when we were talking, I think Emily says in there, like she forgets sometimes how eloquent you are in explaining complex ideas in a way that everyone can understand it. So I would not do it justice like you did in that episode. So definitely worth.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm always here. I am the Dave Dev online, and I love what I do. I love talking to people. And I'm happy to have come on here. Yeah, I have one of the Reddit builds, and that is, by the way, that's a subreddit that text comment went across. That's not any kind of thing, you know, racial thing. But it sounds weird in 2023. But it's a subreddit you can go to, and they'll tell you how to assemble all the parts. Like I have my custom gaming rig. I've been putting that was my first. So in my career, now I'm going on my 32nd year in tech career. My first 2.5 years, I assembled and built PC systems and would repair them in a shop for people. And it was right at the time, like every week that new CD-ROM speed would come out, You know, so it's like a 1X drive and then like and I didn't have a lot of money, but because I've repaired them, like the owner would allow me to take it home one day, put it in my rig, test it out, and then like bring it back so I could see what that PC power was like, you know. And I still have that. I just bought a new NVIDIA 4070 Ti card. If there's any gamers,
and you're building the motherboard, and you're bringing all this, patching the CPU and connecting the RAMs and all the bus cards.
Yeah, I'm still an Intel person, but the AMD stuff is great too. It's just, you know, and it's funny, little anecdote, another person, Paul Cutsinger, who you should all meet too, is amazing. And we did a lot of work together in App Store, and Alexa is overrunning Omniverse now for NVIDIA. And I texted him last night. I was like, that's my boy. I was installing the drivers for my new NVIDIA card, and there it was, NVIDIA Omniverse and Half-Life. I don't know if you all remember Half-Life, but you can basically, they're redoing Half-Life in complete ray tracing and DLS, and it looks,
oh my God,
sick. Like when you see this, you're going to be like, what? And it's AI that's looking at the textures and figuring out the models and is actually building this higher polygon count for the game, but it's still Half-Life. Yeah. So definitely check that. It's a plug for NVIDIA Omniverse. That's awesome stuff too.
Oh, they're kicking ass. It's pretty impressive to see. I remember them from when I was young and used.
Oh yeah. I said
it's ancient.
The Voodoo cards.
Right.
I remember, and that whole NVIDIA and the Voodoo cards and then DirectX and like, what did that landscape, like, how was it going to evolve? And then everything moving from CPU to GPU based. It's just been incredible to kind of be part of all of that and see that evolve. And now, you know, it's GPU is such a thing for AI and running it. You know, we have custom chips too at AWS for doing AI stuff on. So, you know, it's fun. All right, guys. I super appreciate this. Yeah. You have an amazing day.
Thank you. Before you leave, join us. We have a thing in the show. We put some songs brought to you by Mark the DJ, and
nice.
This Gordon Voidwell, Ivy League service. Thank you very much, Dave.
Bye, man.
We missed each other by a mile. Back then it seemed you were a child. At least to me I'd act so cold, so high upon my blunted throne. I envied you for your smiles, your family.
Soda?
Wow, interesting conversation with David. You told me before that I'm gonna love him, and I had a long day. I said to myself, "Wow, how I'm gonna love someone right now." But then he started the story, kind of from the get-go. I was.
You were hooked.
I was hooked.
I think it definitely. It's a very familiar story.
It's an easy thing to relate. You kind of see yourself. Yeah.
But I love how we went to do this community stuff at Microsoft, and like the early days of developer advocacy, developer evangelists. And
interesting. I didn't realize DevRel was a term before what I know of DevRel. It's
before you were born.
Yeah.
You discovered
it. There was no DevRel. Okay, so if we're done laughing at me or mocking me, let's say hello to our dearest friend, Mark the DJ, but not before.
The Q.
Hi, I'm back.
Hey.
Hi, guys.
Hi, man.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Doing good. I don't have anything else to say. I'm good to do this.
So you want me to share?
I usually have a quip. I don't have a quip right now. I don't.
A quip?
Like a little thing to say to be funny. I got nothing.
How's the weather out there?
Hot.
Hot
Every single day.
Really?
Very hot.
Okay,
Yep.
we share your pain. It's also hot here.
Yeah, not that. It's
No,
getting
it's
better.
hot. It's not nice.
Not
It's
nice?
still not
It's getting
nice.
better. It's getting
Has it been raining or anything?
Yeah, hot rain.
Oh,
Okay.
It's
Right.
like the rain boils.
oh.
Great.
Oh, God. It burns you.
It's like because like it's like when it hits like the street or something, it'll just instantly like steam.
Really?
You know, it's like I mean I'm only kind of exaggerating. I'm exaggerating
Okay.
a little bit, but like
Yeah, I got it.
going outside, it's not like a relief. Like oh, nice. Like the rain is like it's like cooling. No, it's uncomfortable. It's worse.
we had our first rain a few days ago, and everybody's like, okay, great, summer's over. It's actually pretty amazing to see how almost very consistently every time it's the Hebrew New Year, right? Like the Hebrew New Year was last week in Israel. At the day of the New Year, there's like the first rain.
No, that's event bias. It's when it happens, you remember it. When it doesn't happen, it doesn't.
Okay,
I
but
wouldn't say. I mean, if there is a sign
there is a lot.
for God.
No, it's not related to God. It's related to the fact that the Hebrew calendar is
Yeah,
aligned
the first
to.
day of. Okay.
Wait, it's not related to God? That's crazy. Crazy shit.
maybe it's fake news, but maybe Yal is wrong.
Yeah, I want to see the statistics.
Let's pull that up at some point.
Let's ask ChatGPT. That's the. So, Mark, should I present what you have to present?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so let's see how it happens. I'll do like this. Okay, let's get.
Okay, we'll see. I do have code on these. I know that because depending on the format, we usually squeeze it or like the screen. We'll see. Let me know if it's too small or something.
Okay, great.
So changelog. I actually wrote down this time how many people contributed and how many changes were in this
Ooh, nice
list. How many wing diffs?
Wing diffs.
Just because why not? Just call it that. It's fine. So 49. We move pretty fast. I mean,
49 commits.
Yeah, commits. I mean,
49
I think we release
49 commits. Yes.
We release mostly every commit. I mean, sometimes they get multiple in the same.
I love that. I love that so much that we're doing this. This is to me one of the. I don't know. I'm super proud of that.
Yeah, we're moving fast. I mean, I don't know if that'll stay forever, but let's cherish it as long as we have it.
Yep,
for sure.
Yeah, and the fact that we have we release every commit, and there's no release ceremony, and there's almost no overhead on releases.
Yeah, basically, unless something goes wrong. I mean, there's no overhead. If anything goes right, there's no overhead at all.
Yeah,
yeah,
just
nice.
Amazing. Okay, so and by the way, you're responsible for the releases, so I think it's definitely worth. Maybe we can do a little one of these episodes. Maybe we can do a rundown on our workflows and our GitHub actions, and it's a pretty elaborate system.
Sure, yeah, that could be interesting for enough people. Yeah, it's interesting to me.
Yeah,
we get to enough people here too.
For our show, it's
more than just does it
above
work?
the bar for our show.
Yeah. Okay, so to start off, speaking of moving fast, the big breaking change in the last 2 weeks is, and sorry, I don't have a good visual.
Great, it's a great visual
of the concept.
I saw the visual. And I said, interesting.
So yeah, the main the big thing here is that there's a lot of work ongoing from Chris on the module system in general, and this is one of the many big pieces of the puzzle. Having a distinction between Wing files that exclusively contain declarations like types, or I guess also imports, so classes and structs and interfaces and stuff that can be exported and used elsewhere, and files that can actually that have instantiations of said types, and running those entry points are the things that actually create the cloud that you want. I don't know
The
why.
entry point.
Yeah.
E.g. the entry point.
Yeah, the entry.
So that
Um,
separation is there's important reasons for it. I don't know if I'll go into here.
Yeah, you actually brought one. I think I remember at some point. I think we talked about the extension for Wing.
The VS Code had to kind of
Yeah, and you said like it
yeah.
kind of feels to me that the VS Code extension would need to know if it's
Yeah.
like you didn't like the fact that we have different grammar rules for entry points and for module files. By the way, I think we were saying that we'll call these modules, and libraries are a packaged module, right? Like, so the distinction between a module and a library.
See, okay, I changed that today earlier because I was like, modules are also now soon going to refer to directories also, and then files within them kind of don't mean anything anymore. They're just kind of parts of the module.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, I know what you mean.
No, but
you're correct.
a file is also a module. You can also bring a file.
I thought we weren't going to do that eventually. I mean,
No,
right now that's correct, but
no. You can still also bring files. You can still bring files or directories.
okay. Well
So
then,
it doesn't. So I think in this context it should be it should be module, and then the library is the thing that we package and release and.
okay, fair point. So pretend on there it says module.
mod 1.w.
yeah. Pretend it says that. Well, but the important note is that the file can be named anything. It can even be named library, even if that's misleading.
Nice.
Don't you dare call it lib.main.w though.
Yeah,
that would be too much.
Yeah, so I think your point then was about the grammar, and you said it's almost like it's two file types, and it's true. There are two file types, and I think like adding like a main extension to the main.w extension indicates it's a different file type. It's an entry point file.
Yeah, it's also one of the because there needs to be some signifier, and it's one of the least invasive ones, surprisingly, because otherwise you would need like a declaration in the file somewhere,
Exactly,
and possibly like nesting of some kind. Like this is like a module, and it's all nested one layer over. So file name, it's pretty. It's as far as solutions go.
It's by convention. It's what they call by convention, basically.
Which languages does that?
Use the file name to indicate that it's the entry point.
Yep.
I think Rust has something like that.
Kind of. It has. It's not quite the same because Rust still has main. It's still a compiled language that creates a binary. So like having a main, but where it looks for the main, I think it has a convention for. Well, it has a convention for like mod. So if you have a mod.rs in a folder, it's like the main part of that.
Yeah, but I think like
module.
Rust has this thing lib.rs indicates it's the entry point of the library, right? Like there's some.
Yeah, I can't remember the rules right now. You're right though. There are. It's not as
agnostic to.
Yeah, there's more layers to like what it actually means. Ours is pretty like we currently have just the binary of
right.
And it's per file basis. But anyway, you can also have multiple mains per project. Technically, like in a folder, you can have multiple main entry point things.
Multiple entry point. That makes sense.
But they each their own top of the tree.
Right. Exactly.
I love this solution, by the way.
Yeah,
I feel like it's a pretty elegant. If I may say so myself.
It's a little.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, when I don't like stuff that I design, I also admit.
Yeah, we also let you know.
We also let you know, especially you and Mark, basically.
I'm not sure I'm fun with this external stuff.
Extern, yeah, we need to talk about extern.
Yeah.
So that was the big noticeable breaking change that anyone working on Wing will probably notice.
There's another big one.
There's another breaking change?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there was. I didn't include it in this list because it was a change to an API to make it variadic. I did not include it in here.
Wait. What about the pub
Oh, the pub.
You didn't include the pub access modif. I mean,
oh shoot, did I forget that one?
my God,
Uh-oh.
man, you had one job.
Oh my! I had to just look at changes and put them on here.
Now I don't trust those
Was that
49
merged?
diffs. I mean, it wasn't 49 wing diffs. Who knows?
Was that merged already? I thought it wasn't. Wasn't that merged? Oh god, was it? I've lost my touch. I have to go back and just being a
You've
DJ.
lost
My
your
God.
touch.
I
We
can't-
can talk about pub. It's actually
Oh yeah, it is. Okay, well I just missed it. Yeah, that was 4 days
Okay.
ago.
All right.
So you want to do it? You want to talk about it?
We, yeah, I mean, maybe at the end. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Boom.
Boom.
Pretend it's in the changelog. And usually to show it, I would just
So examples.
yeah. It's called pub now. Sorry. It's not. This is going really well. Oh my god, I zoomed in too much. Pub. You can have pub now.
Yeah, no, I think the biggest, the important point is that everything now is by default private.
Yeah.
And in order to expose it, you need to mark it as public.
Sorry, I was looking at the wrong thing anyway. Yeah. Okay. I was looking at the proposed ones. So yeah, that's the big thing. Okay. So everything's private by default unless you pub it.
The big thing is figuring out whether the pub, whether the static, and whether the in-flight.
And where is external? Oh my God.
Is there a parenthesis on top of the external? I've tried everything. I tried reading this thing. There's more options that meets the eye.
There's actually a very limited set of.
Yeah, of course, there's a limited set of.
We need to add more. I think
Yes.
we need more modifiers.
Maybe we can create shorthands for all of these modifiers. So like EPSIL. Sorry, EPSI. So it's
And then we shorten even the method, even the names of the functions. Like that. That's just what our language is, all single letter identifiers. Okay. I guess we can come back to it.
It's only enforced on fields and members. Pub private classes.
Oh, pub private.
Yeah, of course. Pub private classes are related to libraries.
Oh yeah, like on a module level.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
Okay.
So I can go to the next one. Yeah.
Okay. Go to the next one.
So new syntax.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
Did you guys even know this was added?
No, I think the PR. Who did this PR? I don't see. Sorry, the name. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know exactly. I think it's. I guess Victor.
Victor. Yeah, I think I've seen it. I've seen that it was his first contribution. That's awesome.
It was, although he had 2 more during this 2-week period as well. Although I think this one was like more the standout feature. Also, really appreciate. So his first contribution was to the Rust side, to the compiler.
Yeah,
Which is it's always nice when people dive into that because it's always a harder area.
Yeah.
I think just generally to get into. But yeah, he went and added what is it called? I guess like. I just realized I renamed this in my.
Like a fancy name.
mutators. Maybe
It must have a
self-mutator.
fancy name.
Maybe self.
It's annoying because I. Hold on.
Reassignable. I don't know what is.
Yeah, sorry. I actually changed this, and I realized now my thing didn't update.
Oh, okay.
And I'm in shambles today. Sorry, guys.
Maybe you also had the pub, the public.
Yeah. So like, yeah. So subtraction, assignment, addition, assignment. So like, you can just do it all in one. It's just sugar for like x equals x plus 3. That's all it is. You've seen it before,
Nice.
but I think it's a pretty common sugar. This is as opposed to like x plus plus or something, which I don't think we're gonna add. I think this is probably a sufficient.
We're gonna add an x plus plus. Why don't you think we're gonna add this, Mark?
I just why would we? It's like it's kind of like from a bygone era of when you needed it for for loops always, basically. I think that was the main reason you used it. I mean, there's other reasons, of course. You can use it. If you need to add one to a thing, I mean, cool. But this isn't really much more like that many more characters, and it's more consistent.
One more character.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't see
it's
it,
an
but
interesting conversation. I don't have a strong opinion.
There's some white
for a
space
change.
here. It's more than one character. There's some white space here.
Mhm.
I think the only not as nice thing for I guess some is that because this is a statement, there's not an expression. So X++,
Right.
like what a bigger thing about it is that it's an expression.
It's an expression, right?
Yeah.
So it can't like the semantics of that are different, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure where because we're also a statement heavy language as it is. I'm not sure it, you know.
Why isn't this why couldn't we define this as an expression?
Should we?
We can. It could be
Yeah.
it could return the value of X, right? Like there's no reason why this is.
I mean, it's inconsistent. We could, but we should do it for assignment as well if we do that. But sure.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a.
I agree.
If the question is why, it's because it wasn't in the spec. But
Yeah,
the answer.
let's think about it. I think like there's no reason why these guys shouldn't be expressions.
Okay. So thank you, Victor. Great.
Yeah, thank you for that. Next up, we have a change from Gary, who I think had the second most amount of contributions for the last 2 weeks as well. Really like put in a lot of changes. So added something to our table resource, which I think doesn't. It kind of it's in a weird place. It's like it's an API that I think we're always saying that we're gonna kind of redo at some point.
Yeah.
But it's as it is right now. It's pretty powerful. I mean, it's a super useful thing to add to your application. So you know we shouldn't forget about it. And I think adding upsert is one of the many useful functionalities that we can have there. So
I gotta say that again, maybe that this looks pretty nice. I think I'm looking at the syntax. It's very JavaScripty. Like I'm trying to like look at it a little bit in kind of like I don't know.
So it's kind of
just talking about Wing in general.
Why?
Yeah, Wing in general.
Why isn't the column type under the table namespace here? I mean,
because we can't do it. I mean, we don't support that right now.
Why isn't it under the like ex.table.column type?
You can't define. You can't declare classes within classes. It's not Java here.
Well, this is an enum.
Yeah, you can't declare enums. You can't declare types within classes. Classes are not namespaces.
So maybe it should be table column type because figuring out the column type without having the prefix table, it's
yeah. I actually really like C Sharp's C Sharp has this like behavior where is it C Sharp or Swift? I think.
And you can just say string.
You can just say dot string.
Dot string, exactly.
And I think that's an awesome feature for exactly this use case.
Yeah.
Because the type checker knows exactly the type, the name of the type. So there's no good reason for you to like express the whole thing.
You're saying you don't need this part.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we could probably do that.
Yeah.
That's not. Yeah.
That's nice.
Interesting.
I'll take a note.
Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I like that.
Awesome.
Cool. I like how this changelog is like definitely the most like. I think it's because you're here a lot. That's why.
Of course.
It's like. Let's see. We're judging Wing right now. What's going on? What can we change? What's good?
What else can we change? Let me think for a second. That's what I started saying. I kind of like how it looks. It feels clean. Not a lot of the fact. I really love the keyword expansion. I really love that feature. I think like we should work harder at like in our documentation and VS Code documentation to basically just encourage people to use this syntax, because every time I see someone that's not, almost every Wing code I see has like the struct syntax here. Like people use the struct, not this, with the name, primary key, columns.
Yeah. I think it's funny because this is the case where you're using, I believe this is JSON.
This is JSON.
But actually, it's weird because you have to use the braces there. But I know what you mean. I do wish it was. I
but there's another repetition here because eventually This is when we have generics. Eventually, the columns define a struct, a very simple struct in this case, roll to string.
Yeah.
So it's eventually we could. I mean, the primary key is a key, and then it kind of feels like more like a like a key value
struct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be cool to support something like
X table
X table columns from struct,
Yeah.
and then you pass in the struct
Yeah.
type name, and it uses the
you need to
it uses
provide
reflection. There's reflection that allows it to generate this columns.
Yeah, they have the struct has the validation API. You have access to the schema.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah.
need the reflection. It's just, I mean, you can call this schema function in runtime.
So you're saying it's possible to implement it right now, to implement this function right now?
I think so. I mean, you can emulate part of it, but you can't emulate that the upsert will have kind of the signature of upsert.
No, I'll write a function that converts.
Yeah, but the signature of upsert will not use that.
No, it's going to be a function that converts these two.
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow the last one. Okay, so this is Gary. Gary didn't give you the image. You'll keep using the same image for Gary.
I think he liked it. I couldn't tell.
Yeah.
He laughed at it.
No. If you could have told, you're right. He liked that.
I'm assuming he likes it. I'll keep it until otherwise.
So thank you, Gary, for taking care of this.
And then thank you again for also JSON.entries.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't know that.
So
Nice.
another addition to the API to our APIs.
Nice.
Like your other favorite language. You can get the key value pairs from, assuming the JSON is a map type of, like a map type of JSON object. You can get the key value pairs. So
my other favorite language is Java, and it's actually possible in Java. So.
I guess like every other language, we have a way to get the key value pairs from a map-alike thing.
Why is the syntax get at and not at?
I think there's been discussion about this so it's because this is JSON, which I think is not correct.
Okay.
Or maybe it is. I'm not sure.
Why is it JSON and not an array of strings?
Yeah.
I was thinking this.
I think it should be a struct.
Listen.
Or it could
agree
be a
with you.
struct with what? With 0 and 1?
No, key and value. It's it's a key value struct. It's a key value.
It should probably. Oh, you mean you want like a tuple?
Yeah, no,
Not a tuple, it's struct.
It's a map entry. It's a struct called map entry with a key and value both. The key is a string and the value is JSON.
I think that would just be a map. I think, okay, in any case, it's definitely not
a
probably
JSON.
Shouldn't be a JSON,
Yeah,
which I didn't realize until I was making this, and I was like, okay. But there is a weird thing here where, let's say it's a map. If it's a map of JSON, a map of JSON and a JSON look very similar.
No, it's not a map of JSON.
It's a struct with one key and one value. It's an entry. It's a map entry. It's a struct.
Oh, okay, I see.
You basically do entry.key and entry.value.
Yeah, the one will be an optional JSON, and the other will be a string.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's not an optional JSON because there is a value there.
In the JSON?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Live API design.
You can't have a key with if it's undefined. It doesn't exist.
No, it's not. It exists.
Not in our model.
But in JavaScript, where you're getting the JSON from, it is. So I'm not sure you can not take into account this use case.
There's null. Null is it's a value.
No, there's JSON. There's a null, and there's also undefined.
I know. But what I'm saying, okay, we can
we can make it non-optional. It's going to be much better because this. And then if someone complains, we'll have to figure it out.
Right.
Because it's much better when it's non-optional. Awesome. So tuple model is pretty elegant.
Contributions welcome.
Yes, and there's a real-time API design. And now we have thank you, Gary. Maybe if you're picking this up, some work needs to be done here. Awesome.
Okay, so next up, mostly just I mean, this is a. I think people have asked about this for a while. This is like a. It's not a big pain point, but it's a pretty because Wing updates so often. You probably update your Wing toolchain pretty often, and you don't want to have to reload VS Code every time you do that. So now, you can just do that if you're in VS Code and you go like npm install global Winglang, and it's a new version. It should reload like the language server automatically
without you knowing it. Great.
Without you, it will update the language server without you knowing it, and it can't upload, it can't refresh the console windows right now, but it will tell you like, hey, if you have console windows open,
interesting.
It can close them for you that you can reopen. So
nice.
And I'm going to see the change in the bottom. In the bottom right.
Yeah, so I guess you will notice that the bottom of VS Code has the version number.
Yep.
It should change.
Awesome.
The screenshot also, I'm calling out that there isn't. If for some reason you do want to customize the Wing bin, there is a setting for that in VS Code. It's always been there, but I'm only pointing it out because the PR this was from also fixed it because it wasn't working. So the setting was there. It just didn't matter.
Well, it sounds like it didn't bother anyone.
Yeah, I think it was Sebastian.
People were asking about it.
Oh, really?
Sebastian asked about it, and he was like, "Yeah, it doesn't seem to work." And I was like, "Well, it's not documented and it doesn't work." So I guess it doesn't exist. But now it works. The same thing applies. If you change the setting, it will also reload then too. If you change that setting.
So yeah, so from like, I see. So basically, the image is only showing the. Like, I was a little confused because you said I thought
two separate things, I guess.
Yeah, two separate things. Okay, got it.
Yeah, I didn't have an image for. I guess I could have made a GIF and I didn't.
You could take the reload window button and put it.
That's true.
Okay.
The thing.
Okay. Good feedback.
Can you guys hear a dog barking, by the way?
No.
Okay, there's been a dog barking here for like the entire time I've been talking. So anyway, next up, so documentation.
Since you said it, I can hear it.
Okay, I'm gonna just turn the mic away. Let's see if that works. So I feel like now you'll just hear it. Did you hear it again? Oh my god, this is awful. So there's now documentation for variadic arguments, where in our in the doc site that we have, it'll show the 3 dots to indicate that it's variadic.
Yeah.
Small but important change that otherwise it would just look like it takes an array, which it doesn't.
Yeah, but that's how it looks in the VS Code. I should have opened a ticket. In the VS Code.
That variadics don't have.
You don't see them. You just see an array of string. You don't see the type, the argument name. So then I said, what happened here? And I said, maybe I know we've added variadic, so I guessed it, but I should have opened a ticket about this.
Didn't the compiler tell you that there's a type error?
No, if you add a string, it's okay because it's
string is fine, but if you put like an array,
I didn't try to put an array. I tried,
but that's what the documentation said.
Yeah, but I looked at it and said that doesn't make sense. Why would I need an array?
Well, if it's not in the VS Code either, then it does sound like it's.
I'm going to open it back. That's on me. That's I should have opened it back.
It's your fault.
Yep, exactly.
Okay, so that was from Suf. Thank you for that.
Nice.
Next up, it's weird. I feel like someone should have I'm surprised this wasn't brought up earlier. That because tests they have the keyword for it. It's like a big thing, obviously, but you'll notice that especially if you're compiling to a Terraform target, that the resources required to run tests.
Interesting.
In Terraform, those are real resources. It's not just a test concept. There's a Lambda function and other things that need to be created to run them. In AWS's case, but if you're not running a test, you don't need to make those resources.
Yeah.
So Chris made a change to make sure that if you're just doing like a compile, then it won't create them. And I showed that here by all of our end-to-end tests.
Yeah.
Not all of them. All of our end-to-end tests that do Terraform output are just compilation. So this diff is primarily deleting all the test code, basically.
I'm gonna put it on the no.
So yeah, big change. Not just for it, mostly just to not waste.
Just less trees in the rainforest are going to be used by our build system.
Exactly.
It reduced our carbon footprint.
Yep. And that's it.
Okay. Mark, thank you very much. This was fun.
It was fun.
I told you before it's going to be a little bit longer than usual.
Because we didn't have another topic for today.
But we filled more than an hour.
Perfect.
Because Dana's not here.
Yeah. So first of all,
that's what. Okay.
Yeah,
that's what's happening too.
So thanks for both of you for joining us. Thanks, Dave. It was a great conversation. Unless you have any last words, we're gonna just move to Gordon Voidwell, Ivy League Circus. Any last words?
No, go for it.
Say bye. Say bye.
Rank and file. The summer house in first class smiles. Your silver knife and sharp denial. Ow. But I must admit my pick of bones. The skulls and skeletons we own for worse or better. We're in the same society.